I'm going to ask John Weir and Robin Sears, my colleagues at Ensight, to join me on the stage, and the three of us are going to try and answer any questions you might have. There are microphones at both sides of the steps, just halfway up, and if you'd like to find your way to those microphones, we'd be happy to take your questions. Just as we're getting organized to do that, though, I really owe a couple of words of tremendous thanks and great gratitude to us. The first is to Marc-André and to McCarthy Tetreault and to Paul Bonifaro, his partner, and to Neil Finkelstein and the others. Really, if it wasn't for their support and their belief in this project, we wouldn't be able to be with you today. So we're enormously grateful to them for not only being sponsors, but being true partners in presenting this work, not just here in Toronto, but in Vancouver and Calgary and in Montreal as well. We're enormously grateful to you guys. Thank you very much. As well, I need to say thank you to Barrick and to the Canadian Nuclear Association, both who played a very important role as sponsoring this work. And finally, I wouldn't get out of the auditorium tonight alive if I didn't thank all of my colleagues at Ensight Canada and both of our firms, Enterprise Canada and Navigator. You have no idea how much work goes into doing what ought to take 6 weeks in 3 days. It's actually quite unbelievable that we actually got it done, but we had some fun along the way, but it was an enormous amount of work, and I'm very grateful to all of them for making this possible today. So thank you to our team. So again, there's microphones on the mezzanine level, I guess you might call it, up there. Please feel free to go up, and we'll take as many as we've got time for.
Jamie, I'm interested in knowing if any of the voters had anything to say, or the people that you spoke to had discussions on the cost of fuel in this country right now.
One of you guys want to? It wasn't a top of mind. It wasn't a top of mind issue. The extent to which there was discussion about that was rolled into the issues of a challenge in the economy, prices rising, economic uncertainty, job issues, or whatever. That's how I saw it. I don't know if you guys.
Tax increases writ large.
Oh, you couldn't hear John? He's a taxes writ large.
My microphone working now? There we go.
No.
Now it is.
Yes.
You mentioned that social issues are probably not going to be a part of the conversation for the next 4 years. And you mentioned that healthcare delivery will be. And I am wondering if there is any chance that the social determinants of health, which heighten health and reduce health care costs, will be part of the conversation. I'm thinking particularly of affordable housing, education, accessible health care in a preventive way, and a stabilized income base.
Robin?
I think that's an excellent question, because I think what the voters have signaled to us is they want their politicians to be bold and innovative in healthcare. They are not going to be satisfied at the three leaders in this campaign simply saying we're all committed to throwing more cash at it. So if somebody comes up with an idea that involves a new private partner and a new ability to deal with prevention as opposed to medical approaches to healthcare, I think what we've discovered is Canadian voters want to see that kind of innovation.
Yes.
Your work, your very interesting work, was focused really on voter attitudes in this election and voter motivations. I'm wondering whether you found any indications that faith-based networks were mobilized or used in terms of building support for the Conservatives in particular.
Don?
Not that I'm aware of. I think most parties, and in particular the Conservative Party that gets labeled with being closely associated with some of those groups, have been very careful not to appear to be very close to those groups at all. And
not appear to be, yes.
Well, now let me respond to that as somebody from another political tribe, if I may. I think Mr. Harper has made it very clear, anytime that question's been raised, that he ain't going there. And the voters said to us, they do not want him going to an agenda that is outside the economic mandate. So I would be very surprised if we saw much movement in that direction, whatever pressure may come from parts of his coalition that he should.
The underlying premise of our work was this. We felt, and we felt this now, this is our third cycle, that if we could understand why Canadians made the choices they did, and if we could understand what their expectations were based on those choices, then that would give us a tool to predict how government will behave. The theory being government wanting to get reelected, so they want to actually meet the expectations of the people of the electorate. So that's what we were looking at, and the reason that was important is we were then trying to see what would that mean for business, right? What would that mean, and beyond business, what would that mean for NGOs and other organizations in Canadian society? What we found in this particular work was that the reason that Mr. Harper got the mandate he did wasn't because necessarily everybody was 100% enthusiastic about everything he had, but they were enthusiastic his offer on the economy. That's where we would say his permission is to be.
The other practical reality from a strictly partisan point of view is that having lived through a number of elections in various capacities myself, those groups are very good at over-promising and under-delivering. And so, aligning yourself with any of those organizations, either for ideological or value-based reasons, or for practical reasons, doesn't make any sense.
And says the campaign manager with lots and lots of experience. Yes.
Good evening. I'm curious if any of your focus group participants drew distinctions between Michael Ignatieff and the Liberal Party, which may itself have challenges to deal with, or whether they were strictly intertwined together.
No, I think they were distinct. I think that we heard from the participants that they were unhappy with the messenger, they were unhappy with the message, and they were unhappy with the way in which this formidable Canadian political brand was presented to them. I think they could make distinctions about the things that disappointed them. And as Jamie and I have discussed in other contexts, you only have a very short period of time in a political campaign to get voters' attention, particularly if you're not the governing party. And if you waste a big chunk of it talking about stuff that voters are not interested in, you really do a double negative to yourself. You deny yourself the opportunity to talk about things people want to hear, and you waste their time talking about things they're likely to dislike you for raising with them. And that seems to be what happened.
I would just add, I agree with what Robin said, I would just add this. And it explains why we don't think it's over for the Liberal Party despite the disastrous result. I think what happens is that the leader, in the way that we cover elections and we think about elections in a very leader-centered way. So I think what happens is when these things take place, there actually is a significant commingling of the fate of the leader and the party together. That, though, doesn't necessarily carry on. And that, once it's over, can be decoupled. As Mr. Ignatieff goes off to Massey College and to whatever else he's going to do, the Liberals will have a chance. It didn't take long. The Liberals have a chance to... Liberals will have a chance to rebuild, and we think it's very important that this idea that the Liberals are finished for all time is a crazy idea.